Welcome to the In the Money Poker Podcast, your source for all things poker. Here we're going to discuss everything from beginner tips to high-level play. We'll be talking to the top players and experts in the game so that you can learn how to take your poker game to the next level. I'm your host, Michael Gabriel, and thank you for listening. With the interview with Jeff Banek.
People with pocket aces, and your chance to win with pocket aces with three people slips down to like 34% or something. It's not even a winning hand anymore. Yeah. So really, position is one of the most important things, even more important than your cards. Position is so important in the game of poker.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, aces at the end of the day are just a pair. And as you look at the average winning hand are two pair. So you're not even at average at there.
Right.
Well, I think, the world of poker really changed with all the television and the World Series of Poker and WPT thing. Did you ever have like a goal to get into those? And did you play more cash?
Well, I actually played in the World Series one year and was 30 minutes away from cashing. Literally 30 minutes. I got pocket queens. Another guy got pocket jacks. We go both in. We're literally they tell you, like they're announcing people are getting closer and closer, and it literally 30 minutes later is when they hit the bubble that everyone cashed. I had pocket queens, he had jacks. He turns a jack on me for three of a kind, and again I just had a pair, and that was the end of my 10 grand in my poker. As far as my run at the World Series, which I mean it would have been amazing because if I just cashed 10 grand, like minimum, I think was like 38K you would have made. So you would almost quad it up for it, which would have been amazing. And just to be able to say I had cash would have been an amazing thing to have on your poker resume, But yeah, I did 1 year I played in that. I really didn't play a lot of tournaments because, again, I'm the type of guy that like tournaments suck in a way because you can sure make more money to some degree. But it's a 6 to 8 hour minimum investment for most tournaments, especially in Vegas. You know what I mean? Where I can go and play cash for 2 to 4 hours, make a couple grand, get up and leave and be cool and always come back later or whatever. Where I've had plenty of tournaments where I'm like, right on the bubble or get through the bubble and you maybe make, double what you bought in for or whatever. But 6 hours to make like $1,000 where I can go somewhere else and make $1 grand in my first 30 minutes or whatever. So yeah, I really probably only played other than the World Series in a 3-year period, maybe like 8 tournaments realistically. I play some of the lower events whenever the WSOP would come around, or they'd have some of the other, other events that would come through. I mean, it's Vegas. There's constantly stuff going on all the time. But yeah, I was way more of a cash player for sure.
Awesome. Now you've been talking, you've been dropping hints on how like you were managing your bankroll and things like that. What did you find? Being so, I would say analytical as I see you are, like, did you have a formula of like, all right, this is a portion for my bankroll, this portion is for living. How did you manage that whole kind of roller coaster at times?
I mean, it was rough, but usually I would try and keep like between 30 to 40% of my entire bankroll is for playing. And then other thing was living and paying bills and things like that. So yeah, but it's rough too, because even though I'm very analytical, it's still gambling and you still like, no one likes getting beat and you just like want to buy back in. And that's the one thing that's bad versus a tournament where usually they'll have a buyback period in the first hour. But then once that stops, the tournament's on, you get knocked out. Where cash games, as long as I got money in my pocket, baby, I can buy back in as many times as I want,
That is so true. Well, going off of like, yeah, we all kind of take a hit. We lose sometimes. What was the best way to manage, like when you lost? You would get unlucky, but, sometimes you're maybe playing bad. How did you recover? Did you need time to recover, or was it mentally? Like, what was the best thing that?
Well, I did two things. One was probably really good and the other probably wasn't as good, but I did it anyway. So the first one was I'd get up and go for a walk. Like I literally would just take off from the table. You usually would get an hour to be able to walk around, go to lunch or whatever. Sometimes I go grab some food, something just to calm down. And then the other thing I do, which probably wasn't the best, but I'm going to just be really honest, is weed's legal in Vegas. So there'd be a lot of times I go out to my car and smoke a bowl, super get calmed down. It's funny too, because as much as people be like, oh, you have like an altered state, a lot of times I'd come in with like laser focus after that. And so that was the two things I do. I'd either take a walk and go get something to eat, or I'd go to my car and smoke a bowl in my car. And those are the two different ways that I overcome tilt. I mean, I'm just being 100% honest. It was legal, so I would smoke, man.
Hey, I appreciate the honesty. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Could you think of like the toughest player you've probably ever were up against? Do you have one for us?
Yeah, I mean, I played against a couple tough players. I've never really played any major like names too much. I knew a couple of them. Like I've talked and met Daniel Negreanu, who actually worked out in the same gym that I worked out. So we talk occasionally and stuff like that. I've met Phil Ivey before. I've met Phil Hellmuth before, and he's a fucking asshole, dude. Phil Hellmuth is just as bad on TV as he is in real life, bro. I'm telling you, that is not an act. I met Doyle Brunson before. I got his autograph. I met certain people, but I mean, there are some other grinders that I definitely, if they're at the table, just wouldn't play, just because you really learn each other's tells and playing style really quick. And if you're smart, you know how to take advantage of that. So there are certain people. There was this one guy, Johnny. I wouldn't play against him at all, just because we're there to take everybody else's money, not each other's. You know what I mean? So it's more like a respect type of thing. And then the other thing too is whenever we play against each other, we'd always get in big battles, and one of us would wind up stacking the other one every time. So it just wasn't what I was there for when there's 8 other people or 7 other people at the table that are all inexperienced, because here's the funny thing. When people go to Vegas, they set a number in their head that they're willing to lose, not win. They show up, I've got $300 and I'm going to lose. Like, think about it. How many people have you ever known? They've gone to Vegas and they have a number where that's the number they're going to lose, not win.
So
Those
true.
are the people you want sitting at the table with you, because they've already decided they're going to give you their money. It's just how long it's going to take,
So true. So how did you know when to move up in stakes? Like you talked about, you started in 1-2,
Right.
and you started playing these other games. Like what was it? Was it a milestone of bankroll or win percentage?
Right.
What was the best thing you did to know that you were ready to move up?
I kept track of all my stats, like every game. I wouldn't necessarily hand-wise, but duration, how much I bought in for, how much I cashed out for. And over the 3 years, I was like about an 82% win rate. Like I won like all the time. Like the only things that would suck is usually when I had losses, they were usually pretty big. You know what I mean? So one of the things I first started out, I was at 1-2, then went to 2-3. During this time at 2, just learning the game, I played some limit rather than no limit, just because you were able to do bankroll management a lot better that way. There's only so much they can get. Like, if you're playing 2-4 and you bet 2, they can only go 4 unless somebody goes. So it really helped you to manage, just to learn hands and things like that. Mind you, limits way different of a game than no limit, but to learn the basics, that helped out a lot. So yeah, once I got up to around $10,000-$15,000 bankroll, I always wanted whatever my buy-in, I needed to have at least minimum 10 times that in my bankroll. Minimum 10 times in my bankroll. So if I was playing 5-10 and I bought in for 500, I needed minimum have $5,000 minimum in my bankroll, because on average there's a chance that you can have 2 to 3 losses. And then if you're playing that's 1,500 out of 10 grand. You still got 75 or 8,500 bucks, which is still a decent amount of money. But yeah, minimum, at least 10 times whatever my bankroll was to be able to take a percentage of it out.
Oh, that's good. So as we get close to wrapping this up, what are like some of the important things that you learned from poker that you can like either bring into your career or life skills in general? Like what was some of the things that you've learned?
To identify certain players and learn their playing styles. The same thing when it comes to marketing and learning the dream customer, how they're going to buy. You know what I mean? It's like when you see someone that is a loose player and is going to be gambling, you need to be a little tighter on him, because you know when you get in a hand with him, he's going to raise you. But when you got the nuts, when you got the killer hand, let him raise you and you play into it. Just like when you learn in a funnel, dream customer, and learn how to speak to their pain points so that they're in so much pain that they see your product is the only solution. You know, it's like learning who is your target audience, whether it's somebody sitting across from the table from you, or if it's your dream customer that's buying out of your funnel.
That's awesome. So what is the one like piece of advice that you would give to players who are just starting out or that just need some help?
So they don't need to go as deep as I did and make flashcards, where I literally would be watching TV. I'd be watching like World Series of Poker reruns, because, you know, for a while there, poker was on every channel, like every channel, from ESPN and everything. I had all these flashcards, but at bare minimum, learn your percentages so that you know if you've got, and it's really easy. Here's the trick. Whatever your base numbers are, wherever you're at. So say you're 30% to win or something like that. We'll go just off a number. On the turn, however many outs you have, and for people who don't know, an outs is how many cards that will complete your hand. So say we're going for a flush, and you've got, 4 to a flush, so one more will be, fifth card for a flush. So if you've got 5, let's see, you got 4 in your hand, there's 13 cards, so there's 9 cards that could technically hit to finish your flush off. On the turn, times it times 4. It's literally that. So you go times 4 times 9, 36% chance to hit your hand. On the river, it cuts in half and goes to 2. So if you still have 9 outs, you're now down from 36 to 18% chance to hit your hand. And that works. That's why you want to have multiple different ways to hit outs, like a straight and a flush. If you're down to the river and you've got, say, a set over set, and you're down to 1 card, well, on the turn, you've got 4% chance to hit it and 2% on the river. Not very good, but yeah, that's the easy way, is just learning numbers like that so that you're able to look at any flop, know what your hand is, and be able to give an actual percentage to win. Because if you don't even at least have that, you're just guessing, man. You're literally just guessing.
I think that's gold, man. Well, I totally appreciate you hopping on this. We'd love to hear the story and the backgrounds of what I'm sure it's like this nostalgia thing that happens, right? Because even for me, it's like I used to play a long time ago. Now I'm playing more now. And it's always fun. But if someone wanted to connect with you and kind of like follow you in whatever you do, what's the best way to connect with you?
So we're redesigning my funnel hub, but it will be up in like a week. Go to funneldoc.com. Or you can just look at Jeffrey and Banek, or Google. It's weird to say this, man, but you can just Google the funnel doc, and you'll see tons of different stuff and ways you can find me and get a hold of me, which is, I never in my life thought that I'd be like, hey, Google me. You know what I mean? Like,
you're famous, man. I told you I looked up for you.
I'm mildly internet famous, at least, man. It's been an amazing ride. I'm very, very blessed with so many things that have happened. And I'm always trying to give back in one way or another, because, I've got multiple tattoos, but some of my favorite ones, other than my ClickFunnels one, is on my wrist. I have impact and income, because without money, it's hard to change the world, brother.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
For sure.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the In the Money Poker Podcast. We hope that you had as much fun listening as we did recording. Be sure to check back next week for more exciting poker-related discussions. Until then, good luck at the tables and keep on grinding.